Arata Kaizaki is a 27-year-old who doesn't have a steady job. One night, he meets Ryo Ake from the ReLIFE laboratory. Ryo offers Arata the chance to join the ReLIFE project, which Arata agrees to. The project involves taking a pill that makes Arata look 17 years old again. Arata enrolls as a high school student at Aoba High School, and meets other classmates including Kazomi Oga, Rena Karyu, Ononoe, Chizuru Hishiro, and Ryo, who is also participating in the project to support Arata. Ryo explains to Arata that ReLIFE gives him the chance to relive his youth in an attempt to improve his current situation. And so, Arata begins his ReLIFE experience. Arata gets to know his classmates Kazomi, On, and Rena who sit next to him in class. He finds out that Rena is very competitive, and was upset about losing the class representative position to Chizuru. During lunch, Arata officially meets Chizuru but is taken aback by her straightforward and direct manner. Later, after school, Chizuru confides in Arata that she struggles with social awkwardness and has difficulty understanding and communicating with people. She expresses a desire to change this about herself. Arata offers her encouragement, and they become friends after exchanging phone numbers. In gym class, Arata hurts himself and Ryo explains that even though Arata looks 17, his body is still that of a 27-year-old man. Meanwhile, Chizuru follows Arata's advice to smile more to make friends. However, Rena misunderstands Chizuru's forced smiles and thinks she is mocking her. Rena then realizes that Chizuru didn't even know who she was, which strains Rena's perception of both Chizuru and herself as academic rivals. Chizuru's attempts to smile more unintentionally make Rena feel worse about herself because she thinks Chizuru is being mean. Rena realizes that she judges herself based on her success, and is upset that she lost both the class representative position and her chance to be with Kazomi, whom she likes. Rena starts to dislike Chizuru more because she thinks Chizuru is making fun of her weaknesses. However, Chizuru doesn't know how Rena feels and tells Arata that she thinks they are becoming friends. One night, Rena stays late at school and sees that Chizuru is still there, so she takes Chizuru's bag as revenge for feeling mistreated. Arata tries to stop her, but they both end up falling down a flight of stairs. After the fall, Arata wakes up in the school clinic and remembers a similar situation at work where his mentor was bullied because of jealousy. When Rena wakes up, Arata talks to her about her actions, and Rena tells him how she feels insecure and frustrated with Chizuru. Arata advises her not to be mean to people she doesn't like and to keep striving for what she wants. Later, Arata meets Chizuru who suspects Rena tried to steal her bag, but doesn't know why. Arata tells Chizuru what happened, and Chizuru talks to Rena before she leaves school. Rena explains her feelings to Chizuru and realizes that Chizuru never meant to hurt her, and only wanted to be friends. Rena apologizes and agrees to be friends with Chizuru as long as Chizuru sees Rena as a competitor. Kazomi and On come over to Arata's apartment to study together because they all did poorly on their last tests. When Kazomi leaves early, On admits to Arata that she fell in love with him at first sight when they first met. Ryo secretly listens in on their conversation using his phone and rushes to the apartment when he hears On trying to kiss Arata. Ryo scolds On and reveals that she is actually his coworker at the ReLIFE laboratory and was supposed to be Arata's support person, but she wasn't able to finish her training in time. On and Ryo both apologize for the trouble she caused, and Ryo apologizes for not telling Arata the truth about their relationship earlier. As Ryo writes his report on Arata's progress, he remembers when he supported Subject 1 of the ReLIFE project. Ryo's bosses scolded him for being too involved in the subject's life, so he had to distance himself. Later, Ryo was asked to find a potential subject for the ReLIFE project, and he found Arata. After a year passed, Subject 1 was deemed a failure as the person had not changed at all. Discouraged by the failure, On encourages Ryo not to give up as Arata was selected as Subject 2, and Ryo was assigned as his supporter. Ryo concludes his report by noting that despite Arata's struggles, he is making progress. Arata gets his midterm report card, and he gets called in to talk with his teacher because he is failing badly. He also discovers that Hanoka the volleyball captain is also doing very badly in school, and their teacher berates her for setting a bad example to other students. Hanoka tells Arata that she is in the school due to a sports scholarship, so her academics are very weak. She also joined the school to be close to Kazomi and Rena, who are her childhood friends. Arata later meets Chizuru, who has started to eat lunch with Rena and Hanoka, but she spaces out during their conversation. Hanoka later overhears her volleyball team gossip about her, and witnesses Rena scolding them for their jealousy. Later, Arata and Hanoka meet to study for the makeup exam, but while Hanoka passes, Arata still fails the midterms. Feeling troubled, Hanoka passes out during volleyball practice, causing Rena to be injured. Since she can't make it to the next tournament, Rena lashes out at Hanoka, who runs away. Rena misses school, so Hanoka and Chizuru eat alone together. Chizuru points out that Hanoka seems troubled, and Hanoka tries to open up to Chizuru, who can't understand. Rena finally arrives at school and announces to her teacher that she will be retiring from volleyball. Hanoka tries to apologize again after seeing Rena, but she runs away. Arata later tries to leave Rena and Kozomi alone together, but Rena lashes out at Kozomi, but he insists on walking her home. Ryo and On wonder if Arata will intervene to help his friend's troubles. Arata begins to notice that his friends seem to be avoiding each other, and Chizuru asks him for help. Chizuru also sees the problem between Hanoka and Rena, but she doesn't know what to do. She admits that in her old school she ignored these problems, which made them worse, and her story gives Arata bad flashbacks. After talking, they agree to help each other to repair the friendship between Rena and Hanoka. Chizuru and Arata talk to Hanoka, while Kozomi and Aki force Rena to overhear their conversation. Hanoka tells them her natural athletic ability caused her to stick out in junior high, and she became an outcast because of jealousy from other students. She later met Rena at high school, who became her friend and rival in volleyball, and only kept playing volleyball because of her. Hanoka wishes to have one more volleyball match with Rena and repair their friendship. Chizuru tells her that she has few friends because she always kept transferring schools, and if Rena and Hanoka keep avoiding each other they will eventually drift apart. All the students run into each other, and Hanoka appeals to Rena, who insists on quitting volleyball and runs away. The group of friends encourage Hanoka to keep trying, and that they will all support her. Rena starts avoiding everyone, as they all go to see Hanoka's last volleyball match, hoping that Rena will show up. Arata and Chizuru decide to go visit Rena's house to drag her to the volleyball tournament. After Rena refuses to go, Chizuru scolds Rena and asks her to make a decision to either support her friend or to stay in her apartment alone. Rena breaks down and apologizes for how she has been acting, and she agrees to go with them. She arrives in time to play for the match, and though they ultimately lose, the two friends make up with the help of Chizuru. Arata meets Ryo asking for a pill to change him back to his older self temporarily so he can attend the anniversary of his former mentor's death. Ryo is worried that this will disrupt the experiment, but since the death of his mentor affects Arata so heavily, he submits the request, which is approved. Ryo then accompanies Arata to his mentor's grave. Arata remembers how his mentor helped him heavily in his first corporate job, but she faced gender discrimination and harassment that led to her death. When her company ignored her death, Arata lashed out at his coworkers and quit his job. This led him into a downward spiral where he became an outcast and closed off from society. Leaving the cemetery, Arata runs into new employees of his former company who admire him for quitting and scolding his company. Seeing himself in them, Arata admits that his current life is still tough, but he is glad that he quit and stuck to his principles. On the way home, Ryo encourages Arata, who feels a little more at peace with his mentor's death. On the way to school, Arata discovers that Ryo and Chizuru know each other, and he feels embarrassed when he feels some jealousy. The class is approaching the end of the first term, and Arata is happy to discover that most of his friends will stay together in their new college. On and Ryo later have drinks with Arata, and they gossip about the relationships in class. Ryo advises them to stay out of the love lives of high schoolers, and he reminds Arata that his time as a high schooler will soon be over. The next day, Arata has lunch with Kozomi and tries to get him to admit his feelings for Rena, but Kozomi is way too dense. After school, Arata and Kazumoi see a strange man talking to Rena, and when the man gets close to Rena, Kozomi runs to defend her. Kozomi discovers that Rena is actually suffering from heatstroke and was trying to get the man to call an ambulance, but now that one of her classmates has shown up, the man will leave Rena with Kozomi. They walk home together, and that night Kozomi thinks about his feelings for Rena and tells Arata that he thinks he loves her. The next day, Arata gathers his friends to help Kozomi make his confession to Rena. Rena asks Hanoka and Chizuru to help her and Kozomi have some time alone during the fireworks festival so she can confess her love to him. At the festival, Arata, On, Ryo, Chizuru, and the others split up to give Rena and Kozomi some privacy, as Kozomi also planned to confess his feelings. Chizuru and Arata end up alone together because of Ryo and On's plan. Rena and Kozomi confess their love while watching the fireworks, and Chizuru tells Arata she's glad she met him. Chizuru remembers all the events that have happened since the school year started, and when she first met Ryo for the ReLIFE project. After the festival ends, Arata walks Chizuru home and realizes he's fallen in love with her, but he decides not to tell her since everyone in school will forget him once his ReLIFE ends. Instead, he tells Chizuru he will never forget her, and she says the same to him. Chizuru herself is actually another test subject for ReLIFE, just like Arata. She also has Ryo as a handler, which is why Chizuru and Ryo know each other. When the class reunites after summer vacation, they are surprised to discover that Chizuru is no longer the class representative, and she lost her position to Rena. Her friends point out to her that she spent a lot of time with Arata at the fireworks festival, and she wonders about her feelings. Chizuru meets Ryo to ask if Arata is also a test subject for ReLIFE, but he tells her that if he confirms her suspicions, ReLIFE would need to end the experiment immediately, and she would never see Arata again. On reveals that she also works for ReLIFE, and she will be Chizuru's new handler instead of Ryo. And On suspects that Chizuru hopes that Arata is a real-life test subject so that she wouldn't feel guilty for having feelings for him, as he would be an adult like her. The next day, Arata volunteers to help plan the school's cultural festival, because he skipped these events in his younger days, and Chizuru quickly volunteers as well. The two later meet Kozomi, who got into a fight with Rena. They encourage their friend, and he makes up with Rena. The cultural festival begins and the class have fun running a butler and maid cafe together. Their teacher encourages Chizuru and Arata to spend time together at the festival, and Chizuru starts to cling to Arata throughout the festival. The festival ends with a large bonfire, and Ryo tells Arata that his friends will have their memories erased to forget he existed. However, Arata should not feel sad about this because he would have made an impact on the life of his friends. Arata speaks to his teacher, who asks about college plans, and he feels sad that all his friends will be going to college together without him. Arata asks if he can stay a high schooler with his friends, but Ryo tells him that this high school life is just an illusion. Later, Ryo and On discuss the fact that Arata and Chizuru will lose their memories of each other and are saddened by this. After the class photo, Kozomi asks Arata if he will ask Chizuru out on a date for Christmas, but when Arata greets her, Chizuru avoids him. The group notices this and Chizuru admits to Rena and Hanoka that she is giving Arata some space to figure out her feelings. Hanoka later encourages Chizuru to ask Arata on a date to see what happens. Chizuru then meets Arata at lunch and asks him out on a Christmas date. They meet on Christmas, where Chizuru has prepared several plans for them to explore the city together, and during the date they buy phone straps for each other as it is also Chizuru's birthday. That night, Arata thanks Chizuru for making this year very special to him, and that he will look back at his time in high school fondly, and he will not forget their date together. Chizuru promises she will not forget their time together, and he realizes his feelings for her. The two test subjects then confess their feelings for each other. It is soon time to graduate, and knowing that his time in the experiment will be over soon, Arata has phone calls with Chizuru every night. On graduation day, Arata thanks his friends for everything, and when they are alone together, he and Chizuru hug and promise never to forget each other. Back at his apartment, Ryo prepares Arata for the end of the experiment, but encourages Arata, telling him that he made a difference in the lives of his friends. Meanwhile, On also prepares Chizuru for the end of her experiment, and she discovers that Chizuru tried to write a message on her hand reminding her future self that she loves Arata. The experiment ends and Arata asks to work at ReLIFE because the company helped him so much, and he takes the place of Ryo to ask other adults to undergo ReLIFE. One day at a company outing, he accidentally meets Chizuru, who is also working at ReLIFE. They later talk about their ReLIFE experiences, and Chizuru talks about fond memories at a fireworks festival. This causes their memories of high school together to come back, and the two lovers reunite once more as adults. And this is all for this video. Make sure to subscribe if you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next one.